The kingdom of Ravaran stood on frozen cliffs where cold winds never slept. Winter lived there like an old king who refused to leave, covering the valleys with silver frost and a quiet sadness. People spoke softly in the streets, afraid that the gods might hear them and send misfortune. No one feared the gods more than the royal family, for they had been given a daughter who carried a curse. Her name was Illyria. She had been born during a night when the moon turned the color of rust. The priests had fallen to their knees in fear, whispering that the child entering the world was not a blessing but a sign. And when Illyria grew old enough to take her first steps, the curse showed itself. Her legs remained weak and twisted, unable to support her weight. Her bones carried pain like a quiet shadow that followed her everywhere. People called her the crippled daughter. They did not say it to her face, but she heard them. She lived most of her days in a high tower with wide windows that overlooked the snowy horizon. She spent hours watching the sky, wishing she could run across the fields like her siblings. Her brothers trained in swordplay. Her sisters studied politics and magic. Illyria, small, pale, and gentle, was left to embroidery, reading, and silence. None of it was her choice. The curse shaped her life like a cage made of light and sorrow. Still, she tried to smile. She tried to be kind. She tried to ignore the ache that filled her heart when she heard the court whisper, "Why would the gods curse a child?" But there was someone far more terrifying than the gods. Rumors said that beneath the mountain slept a creature older than kingdoms. A vampire king, a forgotten ruler of night. His name was Demon Vorath. The old stories claimed he once led a race called the Nightborn, but after a great war, he was bound in eternal sleep by ancient magic. Most people believed it was nothing more than a tale used to frighten children, but tales often hide truth. And one winter night, when the moon again carried a red tint, the magic that held Demon cracked like thin glass. His awakening shook the world. The royal palace did not learn of it until it was too late. It was a quiet evening when Illyria sat alone by her window, listening to the soft snow cracking against the glass. She held a woolen shawl around her shoulders to protect herself from the cold. Peaceful moments like these were rare, and she cherished them. Then the bells rang. The sound was sharp and urgent, an alarm used only when danger entered the kingdom. Illyria's heart tightened. She struggled to stand but fell back onto her chair, her legs trembling with weakness. Torches flashed outside as guards rushed across the courtyard. Her door burst open. A servant, pale with fear, gasped, "Princess, we must leave. Something powerful is coming." Illyria tried again to stand, but her legs gave way. Two servants helped her toward the stairs. The hall was filled with the echo of footsteps and shouts. People rushed past her, carrying children and precious belongings. "What is happening?" she whispered. "No one knows," the servant replied. "Some say the Nightborn have returned. Some say the old vampire king walks again." Illyria's breath caught. She had heard the stories, but they felt distant, like myths carved into stone. Yet the fear in people's faces was real. Outside, the sky turned darker than night, as though something enormous hid the moon. The cold deepened. The air became heavy, like the world itself was holding its breath. Her siblings ran toward the main gates with the soldiers. They did not look back at her. Perhaps they thought she was already safe. Perhaps they simply did not see her in the chaos. Illyria's chair struck the floor as she slipped from her servant's grasp. They tried to help her again, but the ground trembled violently, shaking the palace walls. One of them cried, "Forgive me, princess, we must flee. We will return for you." But they did not. The servants ran, leaving Illyria on the marble floor, cold and alone. She tried to crawl toward the stairs, but pain shot through her legs and back. Tears filled her eyes, not from the pain, but from the realization that she was a burden even to the people assigned to protect her. Her fingers trembled as she pulled herself toward a pillar. She whispered, "Please, I do not want to suffer anymore." All her life she had swallowed her sadness, trying to be strong. Now, as the palace shook again and shadows moved across the walls, her heart could no longer bear its own weight. "If the gods are listening," she whispered, "please, let this be the end." It was then she felt it, a presence behind her. Silent, cold, ancient. Illyria slowly turned her head. A tall figure stood at the end of the hall, wrapped in a long dark coat that shimmered like night water. His eyes glowed faintly, like embers hidden beneath ice. His face was pale, sharp, and beautiful in a haunting way. He was not human. Even without his aura, she would have known. This was Demon Vorath, the alpha vampire. He approached her with slow, steady steps. The air around him seemed to shift as though the shadows bowed to him. Illyria's breath shook. She was not afraid of him hurting her. She was afraid of being helpless in front of him. He stopped a few feet away and studied her. "You did not run," he said, his voice calm and deep. "I cannot run," she answered honestly. She lowered her gaze so he would not see the shame in her eyes. He stepped closer. "You prayed for an end." His words pierced her heart. Illyria swallowed. "If you are here to take my life, please do it quickly." There was no anger in her voice, only quiet acceptance. She did not want glory. She did not want pity. She simply wanted peace. Demon lowered himself until he was at eye level with her. The cold of his presence wrapped around her like winter's breath. "Child of mortal kings," he murmured. "Why does someone so gentle wish to leave this world?" Her lips trembled. "Because I have no place in it." The hall was silent. Snowflakes drifted in through broken windows, landing near her hands like tiny frozen stars. Illyria felt small beneath his gaze. She did not dare meet his eyes. Then gently, almost too gently for a creature of his legend, Demon lifted her chin with one finger. She froze. "Do not beg for death," he said softly. "If your life has no meaning to you, then live for me." Illyria's eyes widened. She did not understand. He continued. "You carry power, though you do not see it. You carry a mark the gods tried to hide." His gaze moved briefly to her weak legs, then back to her face. "You are not broken. You are chosen." "No," she whispered. "I am cursed." "Curses and blessings share the same roots," he replied. "Only time reveals which one you carry." Before she could answer, he slid one arm beneath her knees and the other around her back. His touch was cold but steady. Illyria gasped, startled at being lifted with such ease. She had never been carried like this before, not since she was a child. She almost protested, but the palace walls shook again, dust falling from the ceiling. There was no time. He rose to his full height with her in his arms. Outside, the air split with strange whispers, voices of the Nightborn gathering in the darkness. The kingdom was falling, but Illyria felt strangely calm, as if some invisible thread had tied her fate to his from the moment he approached her. "Why save me?" she asked in a small voice. His answer was quiet, troubled. "Because I should not care for you. Yet I do." With one step, he moved through the broken doorway, carrying her away from everything she had ever known. The night swallowed them. The world changed. And as Illyria rested her head weakly against his shoulder, she wondered if being taken by a monster was truly worse than being forgotten by her own family. Perhaps it wasn't. Perhaps it felt strangely like safety. Hours later, she awoke to the sound of wind echoing through stone halls. Demon had brought her to a towering fortress built from black stone. Its walls rose like the ribs of a great beast sharp against the dark sky. Fires flickered in silver cages along the walls, giving the place an eerie glow. This was the home of the Nightborn, a world without sunlight, a world where she, a fragile princess, did not belong. Demon laid her gently on a bed made of soft furs. Illyria tried to sit up, but he stopped her with a small gesture. "You are safe," he said. "Rest. You should not waste your time on me," she whispered. "I am weak." His expression darkened, but not in anger, in something that looked like pain. "You think weakness is a reason to die?" he asked quietly. "Then you understand nothing of strength." She looked away, unable to hold his gaze. He stood, his silhouette tall against the silver firelight. "Sleep, Illyria. Your life is no longer a chain tied to sorrow." A soft tremor went through her at the way he said her name. Gentle. Certain. Final. And as she closed her eyes, she felt her heart shift. Not in love, not in fear, but in awakening. For the first time, she wondered if her story was not ending, but beginning. Part 1. Cliffhanger as requested. In the middle of the night, Illyria awoke with a sudden burning on her skin. A bright mark glowed faintly near her collarbone, shaped like a small crescent of light. Demon rushed to her side. His golden eyes widened. "Illyria." "This is no curse." His voice shook. "This is a divine mark. You were never meant to die. You were meant to change the fate of this world." Before she could ask what he meant, The fortress doors opened with a booming echo. A glowing figure stepped inside. Cloaked in radiant light, the voice was soft, but carried the weight of the heavens. "The marked girl must be taken," it said. "If she lives past the next eclipse, all will fall into ruin." Illyria stared in terror. Demon stepped between her and the figure. "If she is ruin," he said, "then I will stand with ruin." Fade out. End of part 1. The fortress of the Nightborn had never seen a night like this. Moonlight fell in red streaks across the black stone, and the winds moaned as if warning the world of the events to come. Illyria lay awake in her soft fur bed, the glowing mark on her collarbone pulsing faintly with an unearthly light. Her body had always been weak, but now her heart thudded with a strange power that made her shiver. Demon Vorath had not left her side since the divine figure appeared at the gates. His eyes, golden and piercing, never left her, as if he were reading her very soul. He did not speak much, but his presence was enough to give her courage. For the first time, Illyria realized that she was not just a princess. She was something far greater and far more dangerous. The truth of the mark by the first light of dawn, Illyria's mark had grown brighter. It glowed softly against her pale skin, a crescent like the one she had seen in the night sky the day she was born. Demon guided her to a tall, arched window, and the two of them looked out at the horizon. "You carry something the gods themselves fear," Demon said quietly. "They believe your life will decide the fate of both mortals and immortals." Illyria shook her head. "I am weak. I cannot fight anyone." "I am not like you." Demon's voice grew firmer. "Strength is not only in the body, princess. You have something more dangerous than swords or magic. You have choice, courage, and life itself. That is what terrifies them." Her heart pounded. She had spent all her life feeling small, useless, and unwanted. And now a monster, feared by kingdoms, told her that she carried the power to change the world. The thought frightened her as much as it thrilled her. Training the heart and mind. The days that followed were filled with quiet lessons. Demon did not teach her to fight like a warrior. He taught her to understand her power, to listen to the light and the shadows within her. Each day, Illyria felt her body grow stronger, not in the way of muscles, but in endurance and spirit. She learned to move with care, to manage her weak legs, and to sense the magic that hummed through her mark. Demon watched her with careful eyes. He had lived centuries, seen empires rise and fall, yet Illyria fascinated him more than anything else. He could not explain why, and he did not try, yet Illyria felt a strange pull toward him. His presence was commanding, frightening, yet comforting. She did not know if she trusted him fully, but she trusted that he would not let anyone hurt her. Not the gods, not her family, not the Nightborn who now filled the fortress. It was a bond built slowly, quietly, like the growing of ice into crystal. The kingdom's demand one evening, a messenger arrived at the gates of the fortress. The royal family demanded her return, claiming that the blood eclipse would soon pass and that her presence was required to secure the throne. Demon did not hesitate. He refused. "She belongs here, not to a kingdom that would see her die," he said. The messenger sneered. "Do you defy the crown? Do you defy the gods?" "I defy death," Demon replied. "And I protect life. That includes hers." Illyria heard these words and felt a warmth in her chest. For the first time, someone was not commanding her to obey. They were protecting her choices. She had spent years begging to die, and now a creature of darkness was giving her a reason to live. Illyria's first victory, the blood eclipse, approached. Illyria's power became stronger, but so did the pull of the divine force trying to claim her. One night she found herself standing before a mirror. Her reflection no longer seemed frail. She saw a girl who had endured pain and still remained gentle. She saw a girl who had a choice. She whispered to herself, "I will not let them take me. I will not let fear control me." Demon, watching silently, nodded. "You are ready. Whatever comes, you will face it with courage, and you will not face it alone." That night, Illyria walked through the fortress halls without aid. Each step was careful but determined. She felt her own heartbeat, steady and strong. She realized that courage was not the absence of fear. It was the choice to move forward despite it. The battle of light and shadow, the night of the blood eclipse, arrived. Illyria and Demon stood atop the fortress, looking down at the valley below. A radiant light, divine and terrifying, descended from the sky. The air grew heavy. Wind tore through the mountains. The messenger of the gods appeared, the same figure Illyria had seen before. Its face glowed with brilliance that made her squint. Its voice echoed through the valley. "Child of the eclipse, you must die. Only in death can the balance be restored." Illyria felt fear, the kind she had never known before. But Demon took her hand. "You are not alone," he said. "I will not let them take you." For the first time, Illyria realized that her life was not hers alone. It was her choice, her fight, her power, and she would not surrender it to fear, to prophecy, or to death. The divine light reached toward her, bright and overwhelming. Illyria focused on her mark, feeling its warmth and power. A pulse of energy surged from her chest, and a wave of light and shadow met the divine force. The two powers collided in the valley below. Mountains shook. Trees bent under the invisible wind. Yet Illyria stood firm, hand in Demon's, heart steady, courage unbroken. Demon's choice in the chaos of power, the Nightborn watched with awe. Even the immortal vampire who had seen centuries pass trembled at the force Illyria wielded. Demon realized that this girl, once cursed and weak, was no longer fragile. She was a beacon, a force that could reshape the world. He understood then that the choice he had made, to protect her, to tell her to live for him, was more than loyalty or desire. It was love. Pure, patient, and enduring love, he whispered. "You were meant to be my ruin, and yet you are my salvation." Illyria squeezed his hand, understanding the depth of his words even without fully speaking. She did not need to. The eclipse ends as the red moon passed, the divine force recoiled. Illyria's mark glowed brighter once, then faded. She felt her body lighter, stronger. She could walk easily now, though her legs were never perfect. They were hers. The divine figure withdrew. Its voice, once thunderous, softened. "You have chosen life. You have chosen love. The balance will wait. But remember, power always carries responsibility." Illyria watched the figure disappear into the night. Her chest heaved with relief and excitement. She had survived. She had chosen. And she had grown. Demon's golden eyes met hers. "Do you understand?" he asked. Illyria nodded. "I understand. I am not afraid anymore." A new beginning. The next morning the fortress seemed brighter. Sunlight, something Illyria had never felt inside stone walls, filtered through cracks in the towers. Snow sparkled like diamonds. She walked through the halls, not as a fragile girl, but as a survivor, as a chosen one, as someone who had faced gods and monsters and still remained herself. Demon followed silently. He did not need to speak. She had chosen life and he had chosen her. Together they looked out at the valley below. Mountains, forests, rivers, all untouched, waiting. Illyria realized that she had been given more than survival. She had been given a future where she could be more than a curse. A future where she could love and be loved. A future where she could be free. The cliffhanger ending. Just as Illyria felt relief wash over her, she noticed a faint glow returning to her collarbone. It was different from before, warmer, pulsing like a heartbeat in rhythm with her own. Demon bent closer, whispering, "Your mark, it should have disappeared." Illyria touched it, feeling a strange warmth spreading through her body. Her heartbeat quickened, not from fear but from recognition. Something within her had awakened. Her eyes widened. "Demon, something is waking inside me." He tightened his hand around hers, face pale, golden eyes wide with awe. "Then whatever comes next, we face it together." The fortress walls shook, the wind howled, and a shadow far larger than any mortal eye could see rose in the horizon. Illyria stood tall, beside Demon, ready for whatever world had to throw at them. The story was not over. Not yet, it had only begun. Fade to black. End of part 2.